I was born to Mary and Charles Parr.
Uh-huh. Were they on the island?
Yes. So was my grandma.
So your grandma's the first one to come out here?
No, my great-grandma.
Holy cow.
My great-grandma McCoy.
Huh.
And she lived in a little cottage it was just like a one-room building.
Uh-huh.
It was behind the fence between the Keene cottage and what now is Sharon Steele's.
Oh, so over on it'd be the east side of the island.
East side of the island, the mucky side, yes. And don't ask me how she got through. I think she just walked through the weeds to get to the path. She had an outdoor toilet. She had an ice box
You mean with ice?
with ice. Everybody had ice then.
How did she get back and forth to the mainland, or did she live out here all year?
You know, I don't know. My dad's always said that he helped my grandpa get up and down. And I'm thinking that he said he carried my grandpa probably through the muck there on the east side.
But back then, everybody had a rowboat, right?
Almost everybody. I don't remember my grandma having one, my great-grandma having one.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandparents did. My grandpa, Lyman, and Lila lived for years next to where Vince is now.
Okay, so kind of in the southeast corner. Okay. Near where the store was.
Yes, they were they were the next. Well, there was no building between my grandma's and my dad's and the store. There was
Right.
nothing between there.
Now, did all these people buy property from Charlie Case?
I think so, unless maybe they bought it from some other person.
Well, Charlie Case owned the whole island to
Right.
start.
Right, and Mr. Townsend told me one time, anything that wasn't platted belonged to him. So I would assume because he probably brought that from Charlie,
Right.
that was the same thing.
Okay. So your great-grandparents were here, your parents were here, and then you grew up here as a little child, a little girl.
My grandma, yes. My great-grandma, yes.
I mean, we're talking like horse and buggy days, right?
Before there were horses and buggies out here. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying before cars.
Before cars. There were no cars out here then.
Wow.
That came later.
Yeah. So, where did they live on the mainland?
You know, I don't know, but I think St. John's is where my grandma was born.
Okay.
So I'm thinking St. John's is probably where their roots were.
Okay.
I know that's where they're buried. No, when I was little, and we came out to the lake, to the island, and bought our cottage from Charlie Case's daughter, and her name was Muchler. Shirley Muchler. That's who they bought their cottage from, and I think it was like $500.
Okay.
The cottage was, it was like built into the wall of the bank of the bank.
Oh, okay, right. Down by the water on the south side, near where the ramp is.
Yes. Yeah, that was Charlie's, and I can't remember what he had. We didn't have docks then like we have now.
Right.
We had like maybe one section because we all had small boats.
Right. You could almost pull them right up on the shore.
Right. And then there was, we had the point there, actually next to Deloria's, which is now Diamonds. And several people put their boats, a sailboat, on the point that's behind Diamonds right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, is Charlie Case still around then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had the store.
He had the store, and the store he hired Grandma Deary and Auntie Blanche, Annie
Mhm.
Blanche. He had a hook on a tree, right, it was near his door,
Uh-huh.
and he would put that candy, he made that inside the house. And he would put it on that hook, it was a big iron hook.
Uh-huh.
And he would throw that candy over that hook and he would pull it.
Uh-huh.
Alright. He also would spit on his hands when he was pulling. And so he used that kinda to pull it. And I never really thought anything about it because he always did it. And my parents saw him do it. And I was gonna not rat on him. I love the old man.
So when you got big enough, you got to learn how to pull taffy too.
Right, but I never did learn how to, you know, what he put together
Oh, how to make taffy.
to make it.
What did you get paid for pulling taffy?
Yeah, I got paid a nickel, a bar, or a bar.
One piece of taffy?
He would give me a bar of taffy
Oh, okay.
instead of a nickel.
Oh, okay.
And I think most of the times I took the candy. Yeah, I like the candy. He was very good to our family. Extremely good to our family. Where my parents got their cottage from was from the Muchler lady, and they bought it on a land contract for, I'm going to say 10 years. Because I went with Mother to make the payment on that every month.
Hmm. You went to the person's house that,
Yes.
and you would give them a check or cash, or you
Well, I
don't
think
remember?
it was cash. I don't think Mother and Dad used checks then.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Because you got to remember that was probably,
It was World War II.
right, yeah.
Back then, thinking the only motor boats anybody on the island would have had were the little outboard motors on the backs of their rowboats.
We had a I think it was an Elgin,
Mm-hmm.
that we had for a number of years, probably 10 years.
Vince said he used to have what he called a wage maker.
But that was after.
Oh. Now, wage maker wasn't a brand, was it?
Yeah.
Really?
Wagemaker was a lap-sided boat,
Uh-huh.
and it was called a wage maker.
Flat bottom or?
No, it was a regular boat. I mean, it
Okay.
had a
Bow.
bow. But the boat we had between that boat and the Elgin went on, it was a rowboat that we had to use oars for. When my dad went to work, he would park on the little lot that Vince now uses on Front Street over off of Casawego.
Mm-hmm.
And when Dad got down in the end of the dock, which was a very small little dock, he would either holler for us to come and get him, or he would whistle. Either one. And that's what we would do. We would go over and get Dad and bring him back. And the boat that the Elgin went on had what was called a fishing well in the middle. Middle seat was a wide, the boat was a wide boat
Mm-hmm.
that you rowed, and it was really hard to row. And we loved it because when we went out, my mother really loved it, because Mother was the one that really loved to fish. And this well had a plug in the bottom that when you got in and you were going to fish, you pulled the plug out, and then it would fill up with water. And then if you caught fish, you'd put a fish, and they would stay alive until she got into the land. And either she cleaned them or I cleaned them. One or the other of us cleaned them. Dad had no part of fishing or cleaning fish.
So he got up Monday through Friday, went across, went to work.
went to in the hole in Chevrolet.
Okay. And
Yep.
then came back in the afternoon and,
Yep, about 3 o'clock usually. Yeah, we weren't a two boat person at that point. We were considered pretty poor.
now, your cottage, where on the island was it?
Same place,
Okay.
same place where Vince is right now,
Oh, okay.
but we had a very small cottage at the time, and it was dug in the bank, and it was sitting on 2 trees cut off. That was the front, and above that was, like most of the cottages out here, we had a porch. And almost everybody out here either had a sleeping porch or a porch with a swing. And that's what we had. We had a porch with a swing, and sometimes we would sleep on that if it was really hot. But we also had a bedroom where there's a bedroom now. We had a chemical toilet in the bathroom, and now a chemical toilet was something that you had to take out and bury once a week. And with Charlie's, you know, he wanted people to go back there and please fill in his center part of the island.
Right.
And so Dad, once a week, went back there and buried our poop.
What'd you do for water?
All right, at that time, we didn't have any water. We had the water, the same pump that's down in the park now. And if we wanted any other water, it was lake water.
So when you were a kid, cleaning up every day on the island meant jumping in the lake.
Dumping in the lake?
Jumping in the lake.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. For our baths, yeah. Always. We always took our baths at night. In the lake.
Took a bar of soap with you in the lake?
Yeah. Yeah. Forever. We had a stove in the kitchen that was kerosene, and we have a kerosene that will fit on the end of it, and you could hear it going, you know. But it cooked just as good as your electric does. Mom had a tin. It was a tin that went on the. It was a two. We had two holes in the stove that we had, and then she had this square tin that she put on those two holes, and that was our oven. And it cooked good. We had that for a number of years. And then pretty soon, I'm going to say maybe after 10 years, Dad put in lake water. So we got rid of the chemical toilet. We had a toilet that was plumbed with the lake water. That was a grade up.
Did you you had electricity though, right?
Not at first. Not at first. We didn't have, when we moved into the cottage, we had, as well as the kerosene stove, we also had kerosene lamps that we used. And I'm going to say that probably was 3 or 4 years.
So what did you do? You got up in the morning, you're a little girl, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What did you do all day?
The other little girls that were my age. There was Joan Carey of the Careys.
Which cottage is that?
Dave
Brody's?
Brody's, yeah.
Okay.
She had a brother and 3 or 4 sisters. We didn't lack for kids. We were like, you know, it's like the kids now. And he had a brother that was a year older than her. His name was North Carey. I kind of like had a thing for him. I was probably 13, maybe. He was a couple years older than me. And he was the one that got me swimming off of the big dock, which was on the end of the cement dock we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And that we had a double deck diving thing out there that you could go and dive off at the top, or you could dive off of the bottom. And I was standing there figuring out how to get down there without getting in the water. And North came up behind me and he boop. That's how I learned to swim. He was really good to me. He had a pumpkin seed boat that he took apart himself, and he would take apart the motor from that. He would bring the motor up into the house that's Dave Brody's, and he would lay the thing out part by part all over her whole house.
Now, when we say Dave Brody's, mean, that's the biggest house on the island. They got the tennis courts. Is that kind of where always the rich people lived on the island?
Oh, the very rich people, yes.
Yes.
And Elaine belonged to Mr. Townsend. Elaine was one of Mr. Townsend's kids.
Ah.
That's how that family got together. And Townsend's had the twins, May and Fern, and let me think, what other kids did they have? Jack Townsend, who every girl on the island thought he was really special. He would pay me a penny an hour if I would scratch his back. And I thought I was very lucky. I wasn't very old. I was probably 10 years old.
Chores?
Oh, a few.
Few. And
I'd have to go and dig worms for my mother, which I always wasn't able to get in the middle of the island because I walked all over this island. So did every other kid out here. And we would walk around at night. We'd play games in the park, all kinds of games like I run my sheepy run, kick the can. We always had a good time in the park. We've always had the swing. Swing was always there. The pump was always there. That's been fixed 2 or 3 times. The swing's been fixed probably 4 or 5 times. The park, the center of the park always looked the same until we had the fire.
now I've seen pictures during the war of people playing baseball in the middle of the island. All the
We
Trees were
played
cut out.
baseball every Sunday in the park, including the 3 or 4 men that had polio. In the park, the trees were the bases.
Okay.
And I think most of those trees are gone.
So you came out here till you became a teenager, and then you decided to get a job on the mainland, working at Lewin Aggs.
Right. But I still came out here.
Oh.
Because I only worked there. I only filled in for Rita Johnson because she had to go on a trip with her parents, and they said, you either go with us or you give up your job. And she decided she'd give up her job, so she asked me if I would fill in for her. And I said, sure, I'll fill in for you, no problem. My folks had a restaurant down in Flint. I've done a lot of restaurant work. And so I filled in for her, and when she came back, I gave her back her job, and then I guess she decided she didn't want it.
And I understand that's where you and all the girls met the boys after the war, were you?
Yes, we did. I met Vince, Pinky met Al,
Peggy met Dave.
Peg met Dave, Pat, what the heck was her name? Met Stan Aldrich. I can't think of her last name. And they stayed married until she died. Everybody stayed with who they were with at that time until they died. All of us. I guess you could say I was like a dual citizen because I'd always been on the island, summer, always been on Grand Blanc for the winter, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know. me a nose.
Oh, no. So I wanted to know, Myrtle McCoy.
I can't remember her, except I know she's in the 1937 directory
Okay.
that I have and that Laura's mother has.
Okay.
Now, what directory it's for, I don't know if it's for, it couldn't be for a phone, I don't think. Maybe it was an electric thing.
Oh, because she had one light bulb, right?
Well, no, I don't know that she even got it, but it was in that directory that I have that her, and that was in 1937. And I know she was in that directory. So I know she was still alive in 37.
Okay.
Now, my brother was born in 37, and I was born in 33. I can't remember her, except she did give me this beautiful cat's eye ring. And I've always wanted to take it and have it fixed, and I'm probably going to do it. Maybe I'm going to do it this year. I was always scared to take it to somebody for fear they might try to steal it from me. But I do need it had. One of the prongs is kind of like not work. It's. I'll have to show you when you come over,
Okay.
when I can find it again. I keep forgetting where I put these things.
And what year did you and Grandpa buy your lots over there?
That was the first thing we bought after we got married.
What year was that?
51.
And it's two lots, right? You guys bought two lots?
Because Dad had helped Mr. Townsend about all those trees that were in the center of the island.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was like 500 that you got free from the government or something.
To plant?
Yeah,
How much did you guys pay for those two lots?
we paid 700. That was our first thing we bought when we got married. It was, it was a very smart idea to get the people that had the cottage next to us. I don't think they were really happy because they thought that was a nice yard.
Oh, and then you got it.
And then we got it and started building it right away. He started at the beginning of the summer. My aunt and uncle said we can live in their house for 6 weeks. We said we'll do that, and I'm thinking one of the holidays we could lock it up. Probably Labor Day.
That's fast.
It could have been 4th of July, but I don't think so.
All right, I can't think of anything else to say about the island. There's an ice house here, the barn on Corey's.
My dad built.
Really?
My dad was hired by Charlie Case to dig that for $10 for the summer, to get it done for the summer so that Charlie could make an ice house out of it and put straw on the bottom of it and then have that floor so that he could have ice year round.
For the little store out here.
Well, for the little store, but even after the store, it was just nice to have ice.
What do you want to tell your children here, grandchildren? Have you got any great-grandchildren?
Not yet.
Well, you're going to have some eventually here pretty quick,
Eventually, yeah.
What do you want to tell them? What stories do you want to tell
Any of those.
them?
Any of the above.
Anything special you've learned after, 85 years that your great-grandchildren ought to know?
Have fun when you're out here.
All right.